Hello, in this video we're going to talk about a couple of interesting pages in the APDL menu. First we're going to go take a look at the payroll page here. Payroll page shows us quite a bit of interesting information about payroll related items. First let's start at the top here. Naturally we have the date in the bar at the top, December 2015 in this case. You can use these arrows to left and right to move forward and back between months. You can see the pay period start and end date here. They default to the beginning and end of the month. If your pay period is different than the beginning and the end of the month, you can go up here to the edit section and you can choose a beginning and ending date for each one of those, and you can actually rename the title of it as well to whatever you like. I do want to point out that those settings will be remembered each time you come back to this page. So if you want to just do a temporary view of a different time frame, make sure you come back and hit the reset button on the time frame so you don't get some odd data in the future. So the next on the page here we have a credit versus actual graph. It's currently the 7th of December, so we can see in this case the actual line is the blue line, where the credit line is the green shaded area, and the red line across the near the top is the guarantee value that I have set up for my airline in the airline settings. The way this graph works is I have my schedule imported for the entire month, and it knows what my credit is projected to be throughout the course of the month through the days that I'm working, and you can see it levels off on the days I have off. We can see the actual line starts out at 0, naturally had several days off at the beginning of the month here, and then starts to increase toward the days that I start working. And basically the difference in the credit and the actual line is going to be the difference in overblock, block or better, cancellations, things of that nature. I'm going to go back to November so we get an idea of what the entire month looks like. Actually, let's go back to October. In this month, this is a more standard month here. You can see that I start out low at the beginning of the month with several days off, and then the values start to climb, and they get farther and farther apart as I had overblock and block or better scenarios going on throughout those trips. Below the graph here we have a section for just some summary data for gross pay according to what your pay rate is and the number of hours credit that APDL has here. That includes trip rigs, duty rigs, all of that. That's also reflected up here in the graph itself. Total pay credit and total pay credit subject to guarantee was, in my case, 100 plus 31, 100 hours, 31 minutes. Above guarantee is a section specifically reserved for if you were to do a junior assignment or some type of day off pay that automatically credits above guarantee. In this case I did not, so even though I did credit more than 75 hours guarantee, that would not be reflected here in the above guarantee line. Per diem, that's pretty self-explanatory, that's just a per diem total. Then we have time away from base and nights away from base for tax purposes if you choose to use that. Next thing we have here is a pay details section, and that's actually collapsed. So if you tap on the pay details row here, that will expand and you get a list of all the details that make up the data that we see on this page for every trip of the month. So along the left here you can see we have trip numbers. I had a training day where I had loft there at one point. We also have the day of the month, scheduled time, actual time, and then the other. Now this is scheduled block, actual block, and then other credit. So in this case, that could be minimum day credit or a trip rig, duty rig, cancellation pay, anything like that that could offset your credit from what your flight time actually was. I do want to point out the label for the trip number is on the line to the left and below where the actual data is there. So in this case, Lima 29056 is on the first row. The loft is on the second or third row, I guess, here. And then we have L7568, which is the 4 lines right above that. So we do get a running total here of 100 plus 31, which is where the value we get up here in the summary section comes from. I can collapse that section again if I like. It can stay open either way. It does start out collapsed every time you open this page. Then here at the bottom we have a year-to-date chart that's going to show credit for each month of the year. I had some time off in February and March, so we can see I had low credit in those months, and then just a standard variation between months from there on out. So here's the yearly totals for credit, actual, gross pay, per diem, time away from base, and nights away from base. At the bottom here we can see a summary note that shows all the values displayed on this screen for the period from October the 1st, 2015, starting at 0000 through October 31st, 2015, 23:59 local Charlotte time. And that is coming from the time frame that we set here at the top, and you'll see that change according to what you set if you adjust that time frame in the edit mode up here at the top. Of course, all of the values in here are highly dependent upon the settings that you set in the payroll section as well as the airline section of our settings. Also, the payroll categories that you select for each flight, each leg that you or each entry that you enter into APDL. If you enter in your training and you put in your training pay accordingly, you create a payroll category for training that's accurate to the amount of pay that you get for training. If you have to do office work and you get pay for those things, that type of thing. So this page is highly subject to garbage in, garbage out, if you will. It's only as good as the information you can give it. So spend some time in the payroll section settings, airline section settings, and make sure you try to get those settings as accurately as you can. So this will give you some good data. That's all for this video on payroll. Check out our payroll settings video as well as our trip view video for a couple more items on the payroll section features of APDL. Thanks for watching.